All right, blessings, everyone. So good to see you all today on this beautiful, wonderful day. We're grateful to the Most High. We want to welcome you to our PARASHAT Korach, and very interesting parasha that we're going to get into in just a moment. We're going to be reading from Numbers chapter 16 through 18. Then we're going to be looking at 1 Samuel chapter 11 and 12, and then Romans chapter 13. All right, so let's start it off with Numbers chapter 16 through 18. Blessings.
Numbers 16. Now Korah, the son of Izhar, son of Kohath, son of Levi, and Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took men. And they rose up before Moses with a number of the people of Israel, 250 chiefs of the congregation, chosen from the assembly, well-known men. They assembled themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and said to them,
"You have gone too far, for all in the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Why then do you exalt yourselves above the assembly of the Lord?"
When Moses heard it, he fell on his face, and he said to Korah and all his company,
"In the morning the Lord will show who is his and who is holy, and will bring him near to him. The one whom he chooses, he will bring near to him. Do this: take censers, Korah and all his company, put fire in them, and put incense on them before the Lord tomorrow. And the man whom the Lord chooses shall be the Holy One. You have gone too far, sons of Levi."
And Moses said to Korah,
"Hear now, you sons of Levi, is it too small a thing for you that the God of Israel has separated you from the congregation of Israel to bring you near to himself, to do service in the tabernacle of the Lord, and to stand before the congregation to minister to them, and that he has brought you near him, and all your brothers, the sons of Levi, with you? And would you seek the priesthood also? Therefore, it is against the Lord that you and all your company have gathered together. What is Aaron that you grumble against him?"
And Moses sent to call Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab. And they said,
"We will not come up. Is it a small thing that you have brought us up out of a land flowing with milk and honey to kill us in the wilderness, that you must also make yourself a prince over us?"
Moreover, you have not brought us into a land flowing with milk and honey, nor given us inheritance of fields and vineyards. Will you put out the eyes of these men? We will not come up.
And Moses was very angry, and said to the Lord,
"Do not respect their offering. I have not taken one donkey from them, and I have not harmed one of them."
And Moses said to Korah,
"Be present, you and all your company, before the Lord, you and they and Aaron, tomorrow. And let every one of you take his censer and put incense on it. And every one of you bring before the Lord his censer, 250 censers. You also, and Aaron, each his censer."
So every man took his censer and put fire in them, and laid incense on them, and stood at the entrance of the tent of meeting with Moses and Aaron. Then Korah assembled all the congregation against them at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And the glory of the Lord appeared to all the congregation. And the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying,
"Separate yourselves from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment."
And they fell on their faces and said,
"O God, the God of the spirits of all flesh, shall one man sin? And will you be angry with all the congregation?"
And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying,
"Say to the congregation, Get away from the dwelling of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram.
Then Moses rose and went to Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. And he spoke to the congregation, saying,
Depart, please, from the tents of these wicked men, and touch nothing of theirs, lest you be swept away with all their sins.
So they got away from the dwelling of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. And Dathan and Abiram came out and stood at the door of their tents, together with their wives, their sons, and their little ones. And Moses said,
Hereby ye shall know that the Lord has sent me to do all these works, and that it has not been of my own accord. If these men die, as all men die, or if they are visited by the fate of all mankind, then the Lord has not sent me. But if the Lord creates something new, and the ground opens its mouth and swallows them up with all that belongs to them, and they go down alive into Sheol, then you shall know that these men have despised the Lord.
And as soon as he had finished speaking all these words, the ground under them split apart, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, with their households and all the people who belonged to Korah and all their goods. So they and all that belonged to them went down alive into Sheol, and the earth closed over them, and they perished from the midst of the assembly. And all Israel who were around them fled at their cry, for they said,
Lest the earth swallow us up.
And fire came out from the Lord, and consumed the 250 men offering the incense. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying,
Tell Eleazar the son of Aaron, the priest, to take up the censers out of the blaze. Then scatter the fire far and wide, for they have become holy. As for the censers of these men who have sinned at the cost of their lives, let them be made into hammered plates as a covering for the altar. For they offered them before the Lord, and they became holy. Thus they shall be a sign to the people of Israel.
So Eleazar the priest took the bronze censers, which those who were burned had offered, and they were hammered out as a covering for the altar, to be a reminder to the people of Israel, so that no outsider who is not of the descendants of Aaron should draw near to burn incense before the Lord, lest he become like Korah and his company, as the Lord said to him through Moses. But on the next day, all the congregation of the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and against Aaron, saying,
You have killed the people of the Lord.
And when the congregation had assembled against Moses and against Aaron, they turned toward the tent of meeting. And behold, the cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord appeared. And Moses and Aaron came to the front of the tent of meeting. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying,
Get away from the midst of this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment.
And they fell on their faces. And Moses said to Aaron,
Take your censer and put fire on it from off the altar, and lay incense on it, and carry it quickly to the congregation, and make atonement for them. For wrath has gone out from the Lord. The plague has begun.
So Aaron took it, as Moses said, and ran into the midst of the assembly. And behold, the plague had already begun among the people. And he put on the incense and made atonement for the people. And he stood between the dead and the living, and the plague was stopped. Now those who died in the plague were 14,700, besides those who died in the affair of Korah. And Aaron returned to Moses at the entrance of the tent of meeting when the plague was stopped. Numbers 17. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying,
Speak to the people of Israel, and get from them staffs, one for each father's house, from all their chiefs according to their fathers' houses, 12 staffs. Write each man's name on his staff, and write Aaron's name on the staff of Levi. For there shall be one staff for the head of each father's house. Then you shall deposit them in the tent of meeting before the testimony where I meet with you. And the staff of the man whom I choose shall sprout. Thus I will make to cease from me the grumblings of the people of Israel, which they grumble against you.
Moses spoke to the people of Israel, and all their chiefs gave him staffs, one for each chief, according to their fathers' houses, 12 staffs. And the staff of Aaron was among their staffs. And Moses deposited the staffs before the Lord in the tent of the testimony. On the next day, Moses went into the tent of the testimony, and behold, the staff of Aaron for the house of Levi had sprouted and put forth buds and produced blossoms, and it bore ripe almonds. Then Moses brought out all the staffs from before the Lord to all the people of Israel. And they looked, and each man took his staff. And the Lord said to Moses,
Put back the staff of Aaron before the testimony, to be kept as a sign for the rebels, that you may make an end of their grumblings against me, lest they die.
Thus did Moses. As the Lord commanded him, so he did. And the people of Israel said to Moses,
Behold, we perish. We are undone. We are all undone. Everyone who comes near to the tabernacle of the Lord shall die. Are we all to perish?
Numbers 18. So the Lord said to Aaron,
You and your sons and your father's house with you shall bear iniquity connected with the sanctuary, and you and your sons with you shall bear iniquity connected with your priesthood. And with you bring your brothers also, the tribe of Levi, the tribe of your father, that they may join you and minister to you while you and your sons with you are before the tent of the testimony. They shall keep guard over you and over the whole tent, but shall not come near to the vessels of the sanctuary or to the altar, lest they and you die. They shall join you and keep guard over the tent of meeting for all the service of the tent, and no outsider shall come near you. And you shall keep guard over the sanctuary and over the altar, that there may never again be wrath on the people of Israel. And behold, I have taken your brothers the Levites from among the people of Israel. They are a gift to you, given to the Lord, to do the service of the tent of meeting. And you and your sons with you shall guard your priesthood for all that concerns the altar and that is within the veil, and you shall serve. I give your priesthood as a gift, and any outsider who comes near shall be put to death.
Then the Lord spoke to Aaron,
Behold, I have given you charge of the contributions made to me, all the consecrated things of the people of Israel. I have given them to you as a portion, and to your sons as a perpetual due. They shall be yours of the most holy things, reserved from the fire, every offering of theirs, every grain offering of theirs, and every sin offering of theirs, and every guilt offering of theirs which they render to me shall be most holy to you and to your sons. In a most holy place shall you eat it. Every male may eat it. It is holy to you. This also is yours, the contribution of their gift, all the wave offerings of the people of Israel. I have given them to you and to your sons and daughters with you as a perpetual due. Everyone who is clean in your house may eat it. All the best of the oil, and all the best of the wine and of the grain, the first fruits of what they give to the Lord, I give to you. The first ripe fruits of all that is in their land which they bring to the Lord shall be yours. Everyone who is clean in your house may eat it. Every devoted thing in Israel shall be yours. Everything that opens the womb of all flesh, whether man or beast, which they offer to the Lord, shall be yours. Nevertheless, the firstborn of man you shall redeem, and the firstborn of unclean animals you shall redeem. And their redemption price, at a month old you shall redeem them. You shall fix it 5 shekels in silver, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, which is 20 gerahs. But the firstborn of a cow, or the firstborn of a sheep, or the firstborn of a goat you shall not redeem. They are holy. You shall sprinkle their blood on the altar, and shall burn their fat as a food offering, with a pleasing aroma to the Lord. But their flesh shall be yours, as the breast that is waved, and as the right thigh are yours. All the holy contributions that the people of Israel present to the Lord, I give to you and to your sons and daughters with you as a perpetual due. It is a covenant of salt forever before the Lord for you and for your offspring with you.
And the Lord said to Aaron,
You shall have no inheritance in their land, neither shall you have any portion among them. I am your portion and your inheritance among the people of Israel. To the Levites, I have given every tithe in Israel for an inheritance, in return for their service that they do, their service in the tent of meeting. So that the people of Israel do not come near the tent of meeting, lest they bear sin and die. But the Levites shall do the service of the tent of meeting, and they shall bear their iniquity. It shall be a perpetual statute throughout your generations, and among the people of Israel they shall have no inheritance. For the tithe of the people of Israel, which they present as a contribution to the Lord, I have given to the Levites for an inheritance. Therefore I have said of them that they shall have no inheritance among the people of Israel.
And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying,
Moreover, you shall speak and say to the Levites,
When you take from the people of Israel the tithe that I have given you from them for your inheritance, then you shall present a contribution from it to the Lord, a tithe of the tithe. And your contribution shall be counted to you as though it were the grain of the threshing floor, and as the fullness of the winepress. So you shall also present a contribution to the Lord from all your tithes, which you receive from the people of Israel. And from it you shall give the Lord's contribution to Aaron the priest. Out of all the gifts to you, you shall present every contribution due to the Lord. From each its best part is to be dedicated.
Therefore you shall say to them,
When you have offered from it the best of it, then the rest shall be counted to the Levites as produce of the threshing floor, and as produce of the winepress, and you may eat it in any place, you and your households, for it is your reward in return for your service in the tent of meeting. And you shall bear no sin by reason of it, when you have contributed the best of it. But you shall not profane the holy things of the people of Israel, lest you die.
All right. That was Numbers chapter 16 through 18. And now we're going to move on. Excuse me. To 1 Samuel chapter 11 and 12.
1 Samuel 11. Then Nahash the Ammonite went up and besieged Jabesh Gilead. And all the men of Jabesh said to Nahash,
Make a treaty with us, and we will serve you.
But Nahash the Ammonite said to them,
On this condition, I will make a treaty with you, that I gouge out all your right eyes, and thus bring disgrace on all Israel.
The elders of Jabesh said to him,
Give us 7 days' respite, that we may send messengers through all the territory of Israel. Then, if there is no one to save us, we will give ourselves up to you.
When the messengers came to Gibeah of Saul, they reported the matter in the ears of the people, and all the people wept aloud. Now behold, Saul was coming from the field behind the oxen. And Saul said,
What is wrong with the people that they are weeping?
So they told him the news of the men of Jabesh. And the Spirit of God rushed upon Saul when he heard these words, and his anger was greatly kindled. He took a yoke of oxen and cut them in pieces, and sent them throughout all the territory of Israel by the hand of messengers, saying,
Whoever does not come out after Saul and Samuel, so shall it be done to his oxen.
Then the dread of the Lord fell upon the people, and they came out as one man. When he mustered them at Bezek, the people of Israel were 300,000, and the men of Judah 30,000. And they said to the messengers who had come,
Thus shall you say to the men of Jabesh Gilead, Tomorrow by the time the sun is hot, You shall have deliverance.
When the messengers came and told the men of Jabesh, they were glad. Therefore the men of Jabesh said,
Tomorrow we will give ourselves up to you, and you may do to us whatever seems good to you.
And the next day Saul put the people in 3 companies. And they came into the midst of the camp in the morning watch, and struck down the Ammonites until the heat of the day. And those who survived were scattered, so that no 2 of them were left together. Then the people said to Samuel,
Who is it that said, Shall Saul reign over us? Bring the men, that we may put them to death.
But Saul said,
Not a man shall be put to death this day, for today the Lord has worked salvation in Israel.
Then Samuel said to the people,
Come, let us go to Gilgal, and there renew the kingdom.
So all the people went to Gilgal, and there they made Saul king before the Lord in Gilgal. There they sacrificed peace offerings before the Lord, and there Saul and all the men of Israel rejoiced greatly. 1 Samuel 12. And Samuel said to all Israel,
Behold, I have obeyed your voice in all that you have said to me, and have made a king over you. And now, behold, the king walks before you, and I am old and gray, and behold, my sons are with you. I have walked before you from my youth until this day. Here I am, testify against me before the Lord and before his anointed. Whose ox have I taken? Or whose donkey have I taken? Or whom have I defrauded? Whom have I oppressed? Or from whose hand have I taken a bribe to blind my eyes with it? Testify against me, and I will restore it to you.
They said,
You have not defrauded us, or oppressed us, or taken anything from any man's hand.
And he said to them,
The Lord is witness against you, and his anointed is witness this day that you have not found anything in my hand.
And they said,
He is witness.
And Samuel said to the people,
The Lord is witness, who appointed Moses and Aaron, and brought your fathers up out of the land of Egypt. Now, therefore, stand still, that I may plead with you before the Lord concerning all the righteous deeds of the Lord that he performed for you and for your fathers. When Jacob went into Egypt, and the Egyptians oppressed them, then your fathers cried out to the Lord, and the Lord sent Moses and Aaron, who brought your fathers out of Egypt and made them dwell in this place. But they forgot the Lord their God, and he sold them into the hand of Sisera, commander of the army of Hazor, and into the hand of the Philistines, and into the hand of the king of Moab. And they fought against them. And they cried out to the Lord and said, We have sinned, because we have forsaken the Lord and have served the Baals and the Ashtaroth. But now deliver us out of the hand of our enemies, that we may serve you. And the Lord sent Jerubbaal and Barak and Jephthah and Samuel, and delivered you out of the hand of your enemies on every side, and you lived in safety. And when you saw that Nahash the king of the Ammonites came against you, you said to me, No, but a king shall reign over us, when the Lord your God was your king. And now, behold, the king whom you have chosen, for whom you have asked, behold, the Lord has set a king over you. If you will fear the Lord and serve him and obey his voice, and not rebel against the commandment of the Lord, and if both you and the king who reigns over you will follow the Lord your God, it will be well. But if you will not obey the voice of the Lord, but rebel against the commandment of the Lord, then the hand of the Lord will be against you and your king. Now therefore stand still and see this great thing that the Lord will do before your eyes. Is it not wheat harvest today? I will call upon the Lord, that he may send thunder and rain, and you shall know and see that your wickedness is great, which you have done in the sight of the Lord, in asking for yourselves a king.
So Samuel called upon the Lord, and the Lord sent thunder and rain that day. And all the people greatly feared the Lord and Samuel. And all the people said to Samuel,
Pray for your servants to the Lord your God, that we may not die, For we have added to all our sins this evil, to ask for ourselves a king.
And Samuel said to the people,
Do not be afraid. You have done all this evil. Yet do not turn aside from following the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart. And do not turn aside after empty things that cannot profit or deliver, for they are empty. For the Lord will not forsake his people for his great name's sake, because it has pleased the Lord to make you a people for himself. Moreover, as for me, far be it from me that I should sin against the Lord by ceasing to pray for you, and I will instruct you in the good and the right way.
All right. That was 1 Samuel chapter 11 and chapter 12. Now we're moving on to our final chapter, which is Romans chapter 13. And here we go.
Romans 13. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval, for he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Therefore one must be in subjection, not only to avoid God's wrath, but also for the sake of conscience. For because of this you also pay taxes, for the authorities are ministers of God, attending to this very thing. Pay to all what is owed to them, taxes to whom taxes are owed, revenue to whom revenue is owed, respect to whom respect is owed, honor to whom honor is owed.
All right, y'all. Blessings. So good to see you all tonight on this. So good to see everybody watching through YouTube. Shalom to you, Brother Robert, Sister Jessica, and those of you who are tuned in, Sister Benz, and everyone else. We are going to get into this tonight, y'all. And so let's take a look. Let's take a look at this parasha, which is very interesting and I think very appropriate to what we're going to be dealing with. And I think appropriate for where we are as a country also, where we are as we live in this country, in this captivity now. I know a lot of people do not believe that we are in a captivity, but how did you get here? How did your ancestors get to America? And you call yourself African American. How did they get here? Did they immigrate? Did they make a conscious decision to move and live here for a better life? The majority of so-called Blacks, Israelites who live in America, whether it is debated or not, come on and go with me. Just because something is debated doesn't make it any less true, or doesn't make it false. You are here. If your ancestors came here through the transatlantic slave trade, there's a high possibility that you are an Israelite. And as a result, due to disobedience and due to not following Yah, that is a result why you're here. Now, you can debate that all you want. The facts are the facts. Now, am I going to go into the facts right now? Of course not. But if you've tuned in to several of you know what? I'm just going to have to do a lesson. I'm just going to have to do a lesson and share the facts that I've discovered and many others have discovered. And so in this PARASHAT Korach, this Torah portion, Korach and his people accuse Moses and Aaron of taking power and prestige for themselves. Somebody's always blaming leadership for something at the expense of the community. All right. We know that that is not true. We're going to get into that. Moses defends himself against the rebels. Yeah, there you go. These are rebels. These people are being rebellious. All right. By saying that the Lord will make God's presence known by how God kills these rebels. So notice what Moses said. Then God opens the ground, as we read, and swallows Korach and his followers. I should say the rebellions. In this Torah portion, Korach and his followers accuse Moses and Aaron of taking power and prestige for themselves at the expense of the community. Moses defends himself against the rebels. I think, am I reading that twice? Yeah, that's a typo. So that's basically what happens in this Torah portion. And then all the other scriptures are really designed to support this idea of leadership. So I want to deal with this tonight. And if we go back to Numbers, and if you're taking notes, you may want to write this down as you think of your thoughts and prepare yourselves to share, or type in your answers if you're watching through YouTube. Numbers chapter 16 through 18, I want to say this. That is the establishment of the principle. Hope you guys are writing this down. Numbers 16 through 18 is the establishment of the principles of God-appointed leadership. That is the foundation of God-appointed leadership. We can use this model of God-appointed leadership on a job, in your home, in a congregation, anywhere you go, because this is the establishment of God-appointed leadership. Okay? Not just the leadership, but the consequences. What happens when you rebel against God-appointed leadership? That's Numbers 16 and 18. When we get to 1 Samuel, chapters 11 and 12, we see that 1 Samuel 11 and 12 is demonstrating the implementation, how to implement this principle of God-appointed leadership in Israel. Okay, so 1 Samuel 11 and 12 is demonstrating how to implement this principle of God-appointed leadership in Israel. Human leadership and divine leadership. So we got to understand that there's a difference between human appointed leadership and then the ultimate leadership is God or divinely appointed leadership. Then when we get to Romans chapter 13, Romans 13 applies, okay, begins to apply these. Paul is applying these principles from Numbers chapter 16 through 18 to the context that he's living in. And so Paul is extending this concept of divinely appointed and ordained leadership. Now watch this. He's applying it to secular authority. And I like that because many of our leaders in secular authority don't realize that they have been appointed by God, that their leadership comes from God. Absolutely. They don't act in accordance knowing that their leadership comes from God. Oftentimes, as we know well in the so-called Black community, the Hebrew community, we've seen and have a history of ungodly, abusive, wicked, trifling, destructive, planned attacks from God-appointed leadership. Now, you may say, well, that doesn't look like God appointed them. Absolutely, it doesn't. So we're going to get into these issues. There's a lot of issues to deal with, and I'm so glad that we're dealing with this on this day today, which is some people recognize as the 4th of July, the freedom, so-called freedom for citizens, the establishment of an independent nation, to be free of tyranny, to be free of injustice. And what happens as a result? Now that they're in leadership, they are perpetuating the same, if not worse, leadership. Looking nothing like God-appointed leadership. Well, we're getting better. We're getting better. Really? Really? See, when people say that, what they're doing is comparing today to yesterday. See, you got to understand that what you should be doing when you compare where we are today with leadership, compare it to godly appointed leadership. Then you'll see how far off the mark we are. All right, I don't want to get too much into my thoughts. I'm more interested in your thoughts. So we're going to open this up for discussion. I do have a lot of thoughts, though, around this topic, but we're going to open up for discussion, and I'm going to fall back and allow you to take over. All right. So let's hear from you. Those of you who are watching by way of YouTube, you can type in your comments. If not, you can join in through StreamYard and we can hear your voice. Blessings. What say you?
Blessings.
Blessings.
Yes, so I noticed that the rebellion took place from jealous members of the community. They wanted to usurp this authority that they believed were theirs. The sons of Reuben, because he's the firstborn of Jacob, right? So usually there's this firstborn rule that they would lead or get the first blessing. So there's this desire to usurp this authority, but there's also this theme of the secondborn being the one that God chose in a lot of instances as well. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Also, something you said about Romans 13 and the secular authority of the governments, once that government decides to usurp God's authority and do other things, we're supposed to still listen to God. Same as, who is it in Daniel when they didn't worship his statue, right? Just because authority said that you're supposed to do something, you're still not supposed to do it. That's one thing we're supposed to be, is the light of the world. So there's so many things going on here, but those are just two things that stood out to me.
Okay. All right. I mean, to support that idea of obeying God, I want to take us to just these passages that pop up in my mind in Acts chapter 5. Reminds me of something that Paul said. Acts chapter 5, and drop down to, where is that at? Okay, he was in prison. He was released. Is it 25, 26? Let me see. Oh, yeah, there it is. Verse 29. So let me start from verse 26. It says, then the captain with the officers. Okay, so we have this leadership. We have this divinely appointed leadership, captains and officers. It says, then when the captains with the officers and brought them without violence, for they feared the people, lest they should have been stoned. And when they had brought them, they set them before the council. Here's another authority. So we have captains, officers, and then the council. And the high priest, another category of divinely appointed leadership, and asked them, saying, did not we straitly command you that you should not teach in this name? In the name of what? In the name of Yeshua. And behold, you have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine or teaching, and intend to bring this man's blood upon us. And watch what Peter says. Then Peter and the other apostles, citizens, who are under this authority of the high priest, the council, the captain, and the officers, Peter said, as citizens, in this situation of whether or not to teach and preach in the name of Yeshua, he says, we ought to obey God rather than this divinely appointed authority and leadership. And I like this word ought. This word ought is very interesting because it is speaking of not a suggestion of something you can or cannot do. It is actually speaking to a duty and an obligation that is connected to a moral decision. Listen carefully, y'all. What we ought to do suggests that it is the right thing to do by any means necessary. Wish y'all heard that. What we ought to do suggests that we have a moral obligation to the Most High rather than man. So are there times we should disobey God-appointed leadership? When are those cases applicable? When should we disobey man to obey God? When should you disobey man to obey God? What say you?
When being asked to do something morally wrong, biblically wrong.
We're not willing to do that because we're not willing to deal with the consequences. See, you got to understand. We got, not you, but we have to understand. When I said you, it was you plural. But we have to understand that when you obey God rather than man, there are consequences involved that many of us, to be honest, we don't even have a spine to deal with. So as a result, we bow down. And we're not like Daniel in the lion's den or before the fiery furnace. We bow down. They put that music on, and we see walking up in that joint. Oh yeah. Oh, not me. Oh, just let them play the right song. That's just not your song. You're not feeling that beat. Come on, you know how we do. They put the right beat on. Boy, you forget all about being a follower of Yeshua. Y'all don't want to go with me. I know it's true anyway. Just let them put the right beat on, let the right situation come down, and we will obey man rather than God because we are afraid to deal with the consequences of standing up, of doing what we ought to do that we know is right morally. Because we want to keep the peace. Oh, I know I'm right. Now, so I would love for someone to prove me wrong, but you can't, because you know that what I am saying, I'm looking you dead in the eye. I am staring right at you. I am not blinking. I am telling you that we will rather bow down to man than obey God. Can someone prove me wrong? I'm willing. I'll change. I'll say I was wrong. I'll admit it. See, they used to say this in, recovery programs. The first step is admitting you got a problem. Come on and go with me here. Oh, yes. What say you? You think I'm wrong? You think I'm crazy? I'm just talking. Look, I don't know what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking crazy stuff. We don't want to listen to God, let alone obey him. We don't even want to hear what he has to say. And the scriptures are saying we ought to obey. I don't even want to hear him. That's why I don't read the word. That's why I don't study. That's why other things take precedent. Oh, here you go again. You always talking negative, Pastor. No, I'm telling you the truth and the reality. I'm holding the mirror up to our faces and say, deal with that. No, I'm not always being negative. Give me something to preach positive about. Look, you know what I do? I wake up just like you. I got the same 24 hours just like you. I open my eyes just like you through the grace of Almighty Yah, and I see what I see. So you're telling me that I'm being negative for accurately describing what my eyes see? There go that music again. It's that music, yo. That's what it is. Let the music play. Who used to sing that? Y'all don't want to deal with me tonight. That brings it. Who's that? Shannon that used to sing that? Mm-hmm. That was that 1980s hit. I don't have the rights.
Unfortunately, it's a pretty accurate picture, especially when it's the music. Lucifer was a musician.
All right, I'm sorry, Denise. Come on, this is the song, right?
Oh, we can't hear it on the StreamYard though.
Oh, okay. Because I'm not sharing. Oh my goodness. Here, let me show you this real quick. I don't have rights to this music. But that's the song right there. Let the music play. That's what we're saying. When we decide to obey man, because we don't want to hear from God, let alone obey him, y'all. Mm-mm. So, same thing with the Israelites of old. That now we see Peter, though. Peter is saying something very, very unique, which is really different from really what we're used to. This is a radical. Peter is like, if Peter was living today and he told the congregation, we ought to obey God instead of man, they would have got another pastor. Yes. Oh, yes. Because we don't like people telling us that we're wrong. It's looked at as complaining. Come on and go with me here. Why do we have a problem when we know we're doing something wrong and people point it out? That's what Aaron and Moses did. They said, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm pointing out the fact that you guys are wrong, Korah. And guess what? Korah and his homies, they didn't like it. But you know what? Guess who else didn't like it? The Most High. The Most High said, I don't like it when the man I sent or the men that I sent to speak to you the words that I'm saying, I don't like it that you're rebelling against him. So that word ought means something that's necessary, something that needs to be done. Again, here's the moral. It is right and proper to do. Now, when we get into what is right and proper, when you're dealing with Israelites and people in general, we could explain away anything. We could explain why we didn't do the right thing. Articulate, creative, instead of just obeying. What else does it say? Oh, let me say this too. This is a big thing that we fall into. Many of us believe that if we get enough people to agree to doing something, that dictates if it's right or if it's wrong. Oh, come on and go with me here. All right. What do you think? What do you think about that? That's what we do. We believe that if enough people agree with what is said, see, I want you to use this method. If you get enough people to say something is right, LGBTQ plus, polyamorous relationships. Come on and go with me here. What else? Come on, y'all, help me out. Start typing in some things. If we get enough people to just start saying something is true and agree, simply by the fact of the numbers, we'll agree with it. Well, by that logic, then you would have to say that slavery was the right thing to do. Come on and go with me here. You can't equivocate now when your logic has been proven to be false. And so what Moses and Aaron did was they pointed out the fallacious nature or the false belief system of Korah and his followers and say, wait a minute, there's a flaw in what y'all believe. And God had to show and prove that, yes, Moses and Aaron is right. That just because you can get enough people to agree with you doesn't determine what we ought to do. Now, let's look at our people. Look at our people. We have our own code of what is right and wrong. If you watch the BET Award, if you watch any Black entertainment, sports, movies, etc., exactly. It's also called bandwagon, fallacy of the bandwagon. Okay? Absolutely. If you look at our entertainment sector and you listen to, now listen, I don't have a dog in this fight. I usually vote independent or whatever aligns with my fiscal and moral beliefs. That's how I vote. But if you listen to Black entertainment, what are they telling you? They're getting enough people to say Trump is wrong. Don't vote for Trump. Agenda 2025. And many of us don't even know what Agenda 2025 is, let alone if Trump supports it. Well, did you vote for Obama? Can I ask you a question? Why did you vote for Obama twice? I'm just curious. Oh, you didn't know that he was going to implement and bring in the most powerful legislation to put forth the LGBTQ community. Oh, you didn't know that. Oh, so why did you vote for him? Now, if you say, well, I voted for him because he said he was going to, be fair with Blacks and give people rights and bring those things back. Now you have to conclude, based on twice voting for him, that he lied to you. Because what he did in that White House for 8 years was went against every moral belief that you have as it relates to the LGBT community. Now, you may say, well, why are you attacking LGBTQ? I'm not attacking anything. I'm describing the results of 8 years under Obama, an aspect of 8 years under Obama. It's not attacking. Did he not do that? Did that not happen? So when we talk about divine leadership, how do we know when we have divine leadership? Because Korah didn't recognize. Korah and the homies, they didn't recognize that Moses and Aaron had been divinely appointed. How do you recognize when there's divinely appointed leadership in your life? What are the markers? The checkoff marks? Are there any qualifications? Why is it that many of us, why do we prefer leaders like Saul? Come on and go with me here. Come on. We jumping right into 1 Samuel. Why do we prefer leaders like Saul instead of divinely appointed leaders? So you remember that the people really asked for Saul. Why? Can someone tell us why did the people ask for Saul? Do you remember why? See, y'all trying to turn this into a lesson. Y'all trying to make me teach. This is a discussion. Come on, family. Let's talk. They asked for Saul because they rejected the leadership they already had, which was who? Which was God himself. Let me say this, y'all. The role of divine leadership in your life, watch this, is to guide you, which we don't want no one else doing, because we think we got this thing. I got this. No, you don't. And guess what? God knows you don't. That's why he appoints divine leadership in our lives. And then watch this, y'all. It's not just to guide, but it is also to hold us accountable. What did Peter say? We'd rather he said not rather, but he said we ought. He says the right thing to do is to obey God rather than man. When the divinely appointed leadership holds you accountable and responsible for obeying God rather than man, we get mad. Come on and go with me here. Thereby rejecting not the man, but rejecting God. And we don't even recognize, many of us, when we are rejecting God. We think we're rejecting Moses and Aaron. But Moses and Aaron didn't open up the ground. Come on and go with me. What is the, watch this, y'all. I want to ask y'all a question. What is the connection between us following divine leadership and our relationship with the Most High? What is the connection between us following divine leadership and our relationship with the Most High? What's the connection?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Okay, let me give me a second. Give me 1 second. I know, because it's kind of a long. What is the connection between, listen, let me say this, obeying divinely appointed leadership and our relationship with Most High? Right there. There's the connection between obeying divinely appointed leadership and our relationship with the Most High. What is the connection between those two? What do they reflect?
Reverence, love, obedience,
For who?
Yeah.
Okay. So are you saying that we can gauge our love, respect, admonition?
Oh, I'm sorry. Divinely appointed leadership. Well, that's Yah, right? You said divinely. You don't mean the government, do you?
Well, that could be government too, because divine, like Romans said. Well, let's go back. Let's look at Romans.
Yes, pay the taxes to who they are paid, and obey who you should obey, and But
Mhm.
that's not to say that you obey them if so it could be the government.
Say it one more time. Say it one more time.
Sorry, I'm thinking out loud. I mean, the law is supposed to be representing, right from wrong. And if there's divinely appointed leadership, governments are supposed to regulate that. That's why there's laws in place, right? That's supposedly why they're in place. So I would say the relationship would be yes, showing I guess I still could say showing reverence and respect and honor. I don't know.
Okay. All right. If we look back at Numbers chapter 16 through 18, and we take an honest look at how Korah and the homies, do you think that they respected Moses and Aaron?
Absolutely not. They were jealous. They wanted to usurp the authority. They didn't think that it belonged to them. But the history of our people is such that we are jealous, we impatient, our flesh wants to worship something tangible, which is why we keep making idols and asking for signs to believe, even though it was given to them.
And in addition, it reflects what they really feel about God. Listen, when a human does not respect divinely appointed leadership, that is a reflection of what they think about God. In other words, if I know, look at Aaron and Moses and Korah. Look, they did not respect Moses and Aaron. As a result, they didn't respect God. As a result, God said, if you disrespect my leadership, you're disrespecting me. And he opened up the ground and swallowed them. Now let's apply that to your life. Are there any areas in our own lives where we recognize divinely appointed leadership, but we disrespect it? And this is for the leaders out here. I know it's hard not to take it personal. It's easy to say, don't take it personal. But if we can sometimes it's hard to keep that in mind. But if we can keep that in mind, that they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting God. Especially when your divinely appointed leadership is walking upright in the word, where they can't point to nothing. You haven't done nothing immoral, illegal. They can't point to anything. So you know what that is watch this. When they can't point to anything, what they're saying is, I want to be above God himself. Whoo! I want to be the authority. That's what Korach said. Can he only use you? I want to be self-appointed. Come on and go with me here. I know I'm cooking tonight. And I know I'm cooking. I know I'm cooking. Unless somebody want to come on and turn the heat off, turn the stove off. That's the connection. The connection is that when you disrespect and disobey divinely appointed leadership, it is a reflection of your relationship with the Most High. And what that is saying is, I'm rejecting God. Well, wait a minute, Pastor, you just said, and you got to be consistent, Pastor. Where's your consistency? Because you just said over in Acts chapter 5, Pastor, it's Acts chapter 4. You just said in Acts chapter 5, verse 29, we ought to obey God rather than divinely appointed leadership. Man. So when is it okay to disobey godly appointed leadership? When was it okay for Peter and the other apostles to? What did they ask them not to do? Not to teach in the name of Yeshua. We've gotten to a place in this society we live in that government officials, divinely appointed leadership, and the people, they want you to blur the lines between what you ought to do and what they want you to do. What we ought to do is the right thing based on Scripture. We're getting to a place, and we're already there, where divinely appointed leadership wants you to do which goes against completely what we ought to do. And then guess what? We're afraid to obey God now rather than man. Because we're thinking about the consequences. What I'm gonna lose. What they're gonna take from me. Well, what did God take from Korah and his followers? Huh? What did he take from them? See, we're afraid of the wrong people. Let's go to Matthew. Matthew chapter 10. Watch this. See, we're afraid of the wrong people. 10 and 24, Matthew 10, verse 24. When the disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above the Lord, his Lord. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master and the servant as his Lord. If they have called the master of the house of Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of his household? Fear them not, therefore. For there is nothing covered that should not be revealed, and hid that should not be known. What I tell you in darkness, speak it in the light. And what you hear in the ear, preach upon the housetops. Watch this. And fear not them which kill the body, man, divinely appointed leadership, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him, which is able to destroy both the soul and the body. You see that? See, we're fearing the wrong people. We got it twisted. Because instead of fearing the one who can destroy the body and the soul, once they put that music on, we just start.
We started dancing and love put us into.
See, we just start dancing. And we forget all about dancing to the right tune and obeying God rather than man. Are we going to stay like this for the rest of our lives? Is that how we decided to? Is that what we're going to model for our kids? They want us to be quiet about the very Yeshua that they would spit on if he was living right now. Yeah. The very one that wants to forgive their sin, they would spit on, and they want us to be quiet about. And when they say stuff, you know what we do, right?
As soon as we started to move,
We dance. We dance. We forget all about God, and we dance to the tune of the world. Yeah. That's what we do. But there are consequences to dancing to your own tune. Come on, y'all. Don't make me be the only one talking up in here. Come on now. What say you? Are you actively recognizing the areas where godly appointed leadership wants you to disrespect and deny the Most High? Are you conscious of that? Are you conscious of the fact that you got family members and friends who wants you to deny the Most High and disrespect? They want you to join in with them and don't you say a word. That's why you don't get invited to the bar. That's why you didn't get invited to the bar. That's why you here tonight, because you didn't get invited to the barbecue. I'm just joking. Because they know that you're going to come around and mess up their high. And you can't be messing up my high on the 4th of July. Come on and go with me here. Just your presence. They thinking, dang, what are they going to say? They're going to say something. I know. Let me put this weed away. Dang. He messing up the high. Why you invite him? Come on and go with me. But look, if you invite me to your house, you can do whatever you want to do. Don't let me ruin the weed party. But guess what? When you come over here, and when I say ain't no weed and no drinking, straight up. See, we got a problem. I don't care who listening. You ain't coming in here and doing what you want to do. How about that? And so when we talk like that, it's only when believers talk like that. Everybody talks like that. But it's only when believers stand up and does what God says that it's a problem. Everybody has that mentality. Oh, you ain't coming to my house and telling me what to do. I'm going to drink this drink. I'm going to pour this thing. I'm going to do this snort. I'm going to do whatever I want to do in my house. But the time believers say something, we the one that's got the problems. See, I don't buy that brain. You got to kill me. Or try. See, we live in a time and a day right now, y'all, where leadership is not like this. The disciples don't care about barbecue. The disciples today do. Look, the disciples today care about barbecue and all of that. Pork, beef, chicken. True disciples. Come on and go with me. I see it. Maybe Kaboom has a point. Maybe there are no true disciples today. Because if you ain't at the party, you ain't saying nothing when you get there. You ain't telling nobody to repent in your family. Because you're trying to keep the peace. You're trying to get invited next year. You want to be able to go to the birthday parties, the graduation parties. You want to be able to attend all the events and put Yah on the shelf until the event is over and then pick him back up. That's one of the reasons why people don't have respect for the church anymore. Because leadership, if I could be frank and blunt, no pun intended, is weak. And so what will weak disciple makers make? Weak disciples. See, if you listen, if you stand under this divinely appointed leadership, you ain't gonna be weak, but guess what? It's gonna hurt. Because I'm gonna work muscles on you that you ain't never worked out before. And just because it hurts right now doesn't mean it's wrong. Come on and go with me here, somebody, if you can. Woo! Oh, we'll put up with the trainer at the 24-hour fitness whooping that butt, and we pay for it. We'll put up with the coach and go back again and again. But let the preacher, let divinely appointed leadership. Ooh, we're a trip. And many divinely appointed leaders, instead of standing up, we bow down. Why? because we want to keep the peace. And we like dancing.
The music play while our bodies display.
I'm in the heezy for real, y'all. Anybody want to go with me? Y'all don't want to go with me. Well, unless there are any more comments, unless there are any more, thank you, Kaboom, for that reminder. And we definitely need to pay attention to who's leading us. Is it divinely appointed leadership? Because if it is, you better be careful. Because disobeying divinely appointed leadership, it may not swallow you up right now, but keep on waking up. If there is any justice in the Most High, he says it like this: I will repay it, says the Lord. Blessings. Shalom and blessings.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom. Blessings. Any comments, any questions, anything you disagree with, any what's up? Let's talk for a minute. If not, man, wonderful lesson tonight. I think we kind of capsulated and really captured this parasha. I really do. When we deal with leadership, the establishment of divinely appointed leadership, the demonstration of how to implement that leadership, the difference between human and divine leadership, rather obey Yah than man at times, when what divinely appointed leadership, or when they are asking us to do things that completely contradict divine leadership, which is the Most High himself. And then the consequences. Of obeying God rather than divinely appointed leadership, which is in Romans. All right. If there aren't any questions, any comments, any other comments, guys, blessings. Now, you know, if you want to go to that barbecue, it's still early. You can you can slide through. Yeah. All right, y'all. Blessings and shalom to you and your family.